Um, so what we're going to cover tonight is we're going to have a little bit of a look at the different sort of social media platforms that you can be on, the pros and cons of all of those, the benefits, anything like that. The benefits of each platform, and which ones to choose to meet your business objectives. So people will have heard me say this as the fact that I'm not a big advocate for posting everywhere. It's about posting with purpose. So we'll talk about that. The negative and positive connotations of using social media for your business. Social media can become a big black hole, as those of us who are in marketing know. We can disappear into it for hours on end. So we're going to have a look at some of those. Your customer motivations for using different social media platforms. So why are different customers on different platforms? What attracts them to them, and which ones should we be on because of that? Features of an effective social media campaign. So it's not just about posting and hoping, it is about posting with purpose. So we'll have a look at some of those. We'll have a look at your personal brand, and there is an offer at the end. I don't know whether, Jason, you know more information about that. So I've looked through these slides and kind of gone, I think I've got worked out what the offer is, but there we go. So that's what we're going to be covering tonight. So which platforms do you currently use and why? So either pop in the chat or, have a bit of a, oh, no, my buttons don't want to work either way. So I'll have a look at the different social media platforms. So Instagram, a lot of you have said the fact that either you've mentioned Instagram, that you're using it, or you'd like to get to know it better. Instagram is a free photo and video sharing app. You can do sponsored ads on it. It has around 2 billion active monthly users. And that demographic, it tends to be between the 18 and 34-year-olds. You will find some people younger and some people older on there, but the main demographic of that is 18 to 34. It's particularly popular among younger demographics. So 18 to 34-year-olds are classed as young demographics. I don't know whether or not any of you fall in or out of that. I'm not saying either way. But yeah, engagement rates are 4 times higher than Facebook. So it is a very, very popular app. So if your goal is for engagement, it's very, very easy to use. So it's very user friendly. It's very easy to get the hang of, to in terms of posting, things like that. But it can, some of the negatives of it is the fact that, it's limited sharing options. So it's really quite strict on your image sizes. Those of us that are in the marketing world, we know the fact that recently they changed the algorithm recently in the image sizes. And I think most people had a bit of a glitch in their brains because of it. So it is quite fast paced. So it is, if you're going to be on there, it's one that you don't need to be dipping in and out of. It's one that you need to be sort of present quite regularly. But it is a very good platform to use. Facebook, so it is, a lot of people start on Facebook, a lot of, all age groups, because it's one of the first big platforms that really hit mainstream marketing. So a lot of people use it to stay in touch with family and friends online. It's widely used. It's still one of the biggest platforms. It is moving a little bit more towards monetization and sponsored ads for in terms of business marketing, but it can still be very, very effective. There's a lot of different advertising options that you have on Facebook. It's quite easy to target your market and your ideal client on Facebook. It's very easy to navigate to find them. And like I say, it's just got that wide user base. Some of the negatives, as I've already mentioned, so the organic reach is declining. We are seeing the fact that organic stuff isn't performing as well on Facebook now as it used to. There is that increase in competition for getting the attention of users, which Facebook is favouring ads, as it would do, because people are paying to put those out there. But it is still, one of the most used platforms by marketers worldwide. You've got around about 90% of marketers are still using Facebook for their businesses, for their clients. So it is, it's not one to be ignored just because of the changes that are coming into it. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my passion. LinkedIn is my big platform. So I could probably talk about LinkedIn far longer than I should do on this one. But it is used for a more professional networking platform. So it's generally used by an awful lot of recruiters and business owners who are definitely working B2B, although, people who are employed will be on there. There's over 1 billion members of LinkedIn across, like you see on the screen, across 200 countries. It is a very global business platform. A large portion of the users are between 24 and 34. They're of that professional working age. It's got many, many opportunities. It's got easy to follow insights and analytics. The B2B marketing potential is exponential on LinkedIn. There are some really, really big positives if your client base is based on B2B selling, so business to business selling. However, that's not to discourage people who are B2C businesses. You will, we often say, and you'll often hear in networking, and I'm sure Mark and Lucy have said this on these training courses, people buy from people, and the people who are on LinkedIn are people. So you will get some people who are B2C on LinkedIn. Negatives. So considering the almost 1 billion members across 200 countries, actually the active member rate is very, very low compared to some of the other platforms. So I think statistically, you're looking at less than 10% of those billion users are what are LinkedIn classes as active. So there'll be an awful lot of people who are inactive on LinkedIn. There is less engagement for that less professional content. So statistically, sharing photos of, your ice creams or your dog will not do as well on LinkedIn. However, it will resonate with regards to your personal brand. So there is still a place for it on LinkedIn. And in just terms of some statistics for you, as I say, LinkedIn is one of my favorite platforms. So LinkedIn actually rewards engagement with increased reach in the algorithm. So if you're putting out posts on LinkedIn, if you get one like, so one of the reactions, you're generally looking at an extra view. So that content is going to be in front of another person on the platform. If somebody clicks see more, so you'll hear an awful lot of marketers talk about hook lines. This is because we are trying to get people to click on that see more button on our content because it gets us 4 extra views for just somebody expanding the content. Don't necessarily need to read it, but if they just click that button, LinkedIn rewards us. If somebody shares our post, so shares it with their network, it gets up to 7 extra views, and then each comment can get up to 12 extra views. So when we talk about engagement and the engagement piece on LinkedIn, if somebody comments on your post, make sure that you take the time to comment back to them because it will increase your engagement. I spotted a chat thing come up.
Yeah, Nikki asked, is a share the same as a repost?
Yes, so it's basically posting it to your profile to get in front of your audience, your market, your connections. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's just going to be seen by more people. So again, if your goal is to increase your reach, increase your brand awareness, your business awareness, things like that, these are the sort of things that we want to be looking for, is getting that engagement up, getting our views up. So next is X, formerly known as Twitter. Very much the Marmite of the marketing world at the moment. People either love it or they hate it. So this was when it was X, and even now still as it is Twitter, it's the short, quick thought broadcast. that were known as tweets. I don't quite know what they're calling them now. I think they're still calling them tweets, which doesn't quite fit with the X bit. But there are an awful lot of users because it was so easy to just type some text and get your thoughts and your ideas put out there. It was a very news heavy platform. It's it's for sharing updates, it's for quick fire wins. But you can see there the fact that so if you've got a target market of men, you are likely to find them on X, and 63% of the users are men. X, some of the positives are it's the real-time communication. It's that short, sharp, fast-paced. It's the I'm here talking to this person, or I'm thinking this. This is what's going on in my business. So it's that real-time form of posting. There is the potential of going viral. I'm sure we can all think of users that have gone viral on X, or posts that have gone viral on X, and we've seen screenshots of them in other platforms. The ones that spring to mind are all quite negative ones, and I won't want to bring them up right now. But it was ideal for businesses with customer service that wanted to ask questions, answer questions, that quick rapid response. You were likely to get it on Twitter and on X. And I even know of some companies who were employing people to basically just sit on X all day, every day. This was long before we had things like AI that can do things like that for you. So it is, it is very, very highly fast paced, which depending on your point of view can be a positive thing or it can be a negative thing. It is the original home of the hashtag. And the thing that X really brought into it was people had to think about what they were posting because the character limits were so restrictive. It used to be 140 characters, so it wasn't even words, it was 140 characters. They've increased it and increased it over the time because some people do want longer form prose. Its fast-paced nature requires frequent updates. So as I say, there were companies who were hiring people to just manage their X accounts and just sit there responding to inquiries, messages, chats because it's so quickly moved on. And trends and things like that sort of came from X, or Twitter as it was. And I, for one, am very sorry for the death of Larry. So for those of you who don't know, when it was Twitter, the little blue bird that was their logo actually had a name, and he was Larry. And it was reported the death of Larry when Elon Musk took it over and changed it to this X logo.
And Flick, oh, sorry. Hannah
No.
had a question about the LinkedIn stats you posted, asking if you had like a data source for them or like where they came from.
I do, just not off the top of my head. I found that on, I believe it was on a social media today, was where I found the information, but I can't remember the original source. I will have to find that out for you. But yes, I've got that somewhere, and I will post it for you guys, for Jason and Mark and Lucy to share where that original source was from.
Okay,
Perfect,
thank
thanks.
you.
Pinterest is one of the ones that I don't think anybody mentioned when they said which ones they were using. So Pinterest is another very visual app. It's very ideas based, for want of a better term. So it does have an awful lot of users. A lot of users are active on Pinterest, but not necessarily posting on Pinterest again. So this has got a high demographic of female users. So I'd be interested to know how many people on the call have got a Pinterest but didn't think of it as a platform because they're not posting on it. They just use it for ideas. What's that little one? My teenage daughter uses Pinterest all the time. I'll be honest, I very often am scrolling through Pinterest, normally for those ideas, things like that. Because you can use, you can clump your ideas and people's pins together. It's a great platform. It's absolutely brilliant for driving people to your website. So when you post something, you can put in the back of a pin, you put a link to your website. So when people click on your pin, they're taken to your website. So it's absolutely brilliant for doing things like that, driving that traffic to your website. It's got absolutely excellent data insights, analytics. You can really follow an awful lot of information in the back of Pinterest. It's great for long-term reach as well because it's not formulated like the other platforms, so it's less of a scrolling through the updates. It's it's more that you search for certain things. You can scroll through all of those. So, for example, if somebody's looking for top tips for social media for me, and I've put up a post, I could have put up a post 3 years ago, and if I've got those right keywords in place, it will still keep coming up and my top tips for social media or whatever I've created that pin for. So your post has a much more long-lasting effect on Pinterest. It's excellent for creative businesses. So I've heard the fact that obviously quite a few of you got those creative businesses, those product placement businesses. Pinterest is a fantastic platform for those. It's very visual. It's very similar to Instagram, very similar to TikTok. Nikki's put, I used it for my other business, wedding stationery, and they get lots of views and pins. Yeah. Wedding planning is probably one of the biggest markets on Pinterest, I believe. Certainly I used it when I was planning mine, and I wonder whether any of the rest of you have used it for similar sort of things. The downsides of Pinterest is the fact that there are potential copyright issues with shared content. So you can fall negatively on copyright things. It's not suitable for all businesses. But that being said, again, when we're adding value content, we can share those graphics, memes, things like that, reels, short videos, those sorts of things. They can all do well on Pinterest. So you just have to think about it a little bit creatively for Pinterest. And users can be easily distracted. As I said, as has been said in the chat, there are some people who can spend hours scrolling through Pinterest and then emerge like some kind of cave trolls and kind of gone, what day is it? Because you've just been lost in a scroll of ideas and things like that, and not actually had the time to put those ideas in practice. So just be careful for both yourself as you're scrolling and for obviously your markets if you are going to start using Pinterest. Threads. So I think it was Helen asked in the chat if anybody is using Threads. So Threads is or was launched as the next Twitter when it was launched back in, I think it was the summer of last year, summer of 2024. It was the biggest downloaded platform in a 24-hour window. They did a really clever thing with their when they launched it, was the fact that they gave everybody a number and saying the fact that you are the 5,395,612 person to download Threads, which was really quite interesting because then on other platforms people were sharing what their number was, and there was sort of this competition as to who got there first, sort of that first past the post, which was a brilliant marketing ploy from Threads. So it's very similar to X in the way that the feed is laid out. It's very short prose posts. If I can get my teeth around that, short prose posts. You can share videos and text and photos on Threads just like you can with X. And it's very much of it wants you to have the conversations very publicly. So it wants to see the back and forth between you and whoever you're speaking to, your customer, your client. It's not really designed for private conversations, private communications, and direct messages. So you can automatically link the link between the two. So when you log on to Threads, because it's so linked to Instagram, you can follow people who you're following on Instagram automatically on Threads. And if you find new people on Threads, it will prompt you to follow them on Instagram as well. Again, it's got that potential of that very large audience base. As I said, it was the most downloaded app in such a short amount of time. It broke all the records. I think it probably broke things like Google Play, that it just couldn't actually keep up with some of the downloads at times, I think. So it's a very large audience base that are on Threads. There is a place for simpler content, for that short burst thought content, which is perfect for Threads. Some of the downsides were the fact that you couldn't delete your Threads account if you no longer wanted it without deleting your Instagram. So a lot of people were stuck with it. I think they have now changed that. It's been a while since I've been on any Threads training. So if any of the marketers know in the group whether or not that has now changed, I know they were looking to get that changed. When they launched as well, they were also looking at how they integrate hashtags, because they weren't originally part of Threads. You couldn't use them. You couldn't click through and follow those. They have now changed. The analytics on Threads, though, is a bit, for want of a better term, clunky. It's very, very basic. It's not very detailed. And again, there's just updates coming out saying the fact that they're working on that. So it's one of the newer big platforms, and not everybody is on Threads. TikTok is again, it is a very controversial platform. It does tend to be a little bit like Marmite. People either love it or loathe it. But it was the launch of the importance of video. So back in 2018, when it launched, it got big during COVID. Lots of people creating TikToks while they were stuck in lockdown. It is one of the most frequently used apps worldwide. So its reach is global. It does tend to be, though, the younger demographic. So we're looking at Gen Z as younger millennials, that 18 to 24 age bracket. And the age brackets are important when you're looking at which platforms to be on, because if your target market does not sit in those age brackets, spending an awful lot of time learning those platforms for a demographic that isn't sat there, let's work smarter, not harder, is always my advice to my clients, to my customers, and to you guys. So some of the positives of TikTok, again, we have the potential for going viral. It's become a used phrase as a sort of a verb of, oh, I'm TikToking. I'm creating a short video is far too long to say, oh, just TikToking. It does favor that authentic and creative content. We're used to seeing people now less than polished, and TikTok was a big window and door opening for that, into that less than polished post. It is very, very inclusive. There are still buzzwords that you can't say on TikTok, as there are with all the other platforms, but it does have a rapidly growing user base. So it's one to keep an eye on, potentially for your business. In terms of some of the negatives, it can be quite difficult to target your market on TikTok. Because of that global base. You can use the hashtags to do it, but it can become a little bit difficult, and you'll likely get your posts seen by people who aren't actually interested in your products or services. So your viral posts, if you do happen to have a post that goes viral on TikTok, it might not be the right audience growth for you. So it can be a bit of a red flag of the fact that you get people following you for the wrong sort of things. And as I say, it's a very young demographic in terms of the users that are on TikTok. So it can be difficult to reach people who are beyond that young demographic. I need to just double check these ones because I think some of them are out of. Oh no, they should have updated the Instagram ones. So in image sizes in terms of when you're posting on the various platforms. So statistically, a text-only post versus a post with an image, people are 80% more likely to stop on a post with an image than just a text-only post. So it is always worth popping a relevant image, I will say a relevant image with your posts. So you can see on the screen, I'll leave that up for a few seconds while you guys jot that down. The ones to watch out for, so Instagram will penalize you for using the incorrect pixeled image. It will crop your images, not always where you want it to. So just be aware on Instagram. When it comes to the others, they're far more lenient. Facebook, you can post the 1080 by 1080, which was what used to be on Instagram. It won't penalize you. But this is what the platforms recommend is the pixel sizes for it. Same with Pinterest, you can post different pixels to that. That's just what Pinterest says, that is the recommended. And the same with LinkedIn. X and Twitter, again, they used to favor a more rectangle image on the platform, particularly when it was Twitter. Now it's less so, but Instagram is definitely the one that you want to do. Now, Instagram, I will be honest with you, that is the pixel sizes for your post in the feed when it is on your grid. So when it's on your profile, it will crop the outside of it. So I would always recommend using something like Canva because it will have an internal outline for your Instagram grid, and that was what will show on your grid. The external will show in the feed as people scroll through your posts. Your videos are slightly different pixels. Again, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. But yes, so just be wary of the Instagram ones. Cool. So some of the factors to consider when choosing your social media platforms for business. So as many of you said as we went around the room, is your target audience demographics. So think about who are your ideal clients. Now, I am a big fan of your ideal client avatar, talking about it, understanding it. So I will try not to go too far, too deep into this topic, because it is one of my favorite things to talk about. We need to think about where are they likely to be spending their time on social media. So as I said earlier, I'm a big advocate for working smarter, not harder. If we don't need to be on every social media platform, let's use the right ones, let's target the right ones. And also talk in their language, talk in the way that's going to appeal to them and that they're going to like to consume. So we talk about people consuming content on social media as they're scrolling. That's what they're doing. They're consuming that data into their brain by reading it or watching it or hovering over it. So a little bit of an activity for you, and then once we've done this, we'll go for a break. So your ideal client avatar. So how old are they? So we need to define them. So I always say to people when I'm coaching them, when we're looking at ideal client avatars, the easiest way to start with this activity is to think of a celebrity. Think of somebody who is famous, or you can make somebody up. Think of that golden person that if they came to your business, you might actually faint with surprise. You might actually have to sit down and go, oh my God, I can't believe this person has come to me. Then we can start breaking down the demographics of them. How old are they? Who do they identify as? Are they the decision maker? Whereabouts do they live? What's their relationships? What their family life like? What is their work life like? What sort of job do they have? What do they label themselves as? Do they label themselves as, a business founder, a business director, a business owner? Because each of those different phrases will appeal to different people. And what level of education do they have? So I'll give you a minute break and be back here at 10 to. So we'll carry on looking at different platforms, the kind of things that we want to be looking at. So your business objectives when it comes to social media are quite important because they can help you to choose which platform is going to be the right platform for you. So, for example, if you are interested in visually showcasing your products, things like Instagram and TikTok are probably going to be better. But if you're looking for that real-time customer engagement, you might be looking towards more things like X and Threads. If you want to really drive that website traffic from your socials, you can be looking at things like Pinterest. When it comes to that paid advertisements, the platforms that are going to be looking better for you are things like Facebook and Instagram. Their ad campaigns are very easy to use. They're very easy to follow and navigate without too much fuss. LinkedIn is going to be, for those of you who are going networking, for example, building that professional network, LinkedIn is going to be the better platform for you to do that. So it really does depend on what it is that you're trying to get from your social media as to which platforms are going to be the best ones for you, which is why I say to a lot of people is the fact that, you don't need to be everywhere. But what we do need to be doing is we do need to be targeted on those platforms. So what is your business objective at the moment? What would you say you're leaning more towards? As I've sort of alluded to earlier, each platform has its preferred content type. So whether they're very visual, things like Instagram and TikTok, X and Threads, those short, concise messages, updates. Microblogging is a term that you might have heard as well. LinkedIn, LinkedIn has the professional article, so you can send newsletters through LinkedIn, so that can become part of your content strategy for the platform. And Pinterest, we've got that clickbait kind of type things. We want people to go through to our website. So how many of you, I heard some of you when we did the wins of the week, that's the words I'm looking for. How many of you are currently using video, or how many of you are still a little bit scared of video? A little bit nervous when it comes to video? People are still quite scared of videos. I've got to be honest with you guys, video is here to stay. The minute that TikTok launched and its success story, its overnight success story, we knew the fact that video wasn't going away, and we had to become comfortable with it. Videos are brilliant for that higher retention rate. You can get people watching videos. The multi-sensory appeal is really, really quite key. So people who prefer the audio part of a video, there are people who quite like the visual. There are I would always recommend making sure the fact that you've got subtitles on your video. This is just very much keeping people engaged who are in a place where they can't actually listen to the audio, so in public spaces or in their workplace setting. They get greater click-through rates on video. So the calls to action of follow me for more content like this, or like and subscribe, or leave a comment underneath. We are seeing the fact that people are following those calls to action. So if you are saying, visit the link in my bio and visit my website, things like that, there is an increased rate of click-through content, and all the algorithms will promote you more if you are doing more video content. The biggest tip that I can give to anybody, as one that I give quite regularly, is the fact that always remember, when it comes to videos, you are the only one that looks at yourself as critically as you are looking at yourself. So I myself, that there are as many people do, I have insecurities about how I look, how I sound. Do I murmur? Do I stumble on my words? Do I stutter? Things like that. People aren't watching for that. They aren't watching for going, oh, she said 3 times in that 30-second video. They are just genuinely watching for your content. They aren't looking at your, you know, your flaws. They're not looking at your flaws the way that you do.
And Flick,
Remember what?
Helen had a question, if you just saw it as well. She asked,
Yeah.
does YouTube count as social media?
So YouTube and actually TikTok, they are both classed as entertainment platforms rather than social media. TikTok does kind of blur the lines, and YouTube is starting to with YouTube Shorts. So they are classed as an entertainment platform rather than a social media platform, but the difference between the two is quite subtle. So yes, I would always recommend. So if you are looking at doing things like videos, if you are recording long form video for your YouTube, you can then take snippets of that to put on your reels, put on your TikToks, put on your LinkedIn's, so that becomes quite an easy thing if you've recorded one video, but you might have 7 or 8 pieces of content from it, from a 10 to 30-minute video that you've put on your YouTube. I've seen a lot of people who are saying the fact that they don't know what to say. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the content and the sort of things that you can put out on both videos and on your social media in a few slides' time. Rob, so what about WhatsApp status updates? Yes, WhatsApp is the latest one that is contending to be another form of social media marketing streams. So it's more going to be a little bit more like short form email marketing is what WhatsApp's going to be more like. So you can put out a broadcast on your WhatsApp channel, similar like you'd send out an email marketing, but people can message you back, like they can email you back um, with regards to that. So it's not, again, it's a communication platform that is developing and designing ways to become more communication based for that broader status sharing updates with WhatsApp. Is video worth doing on LinkedIn? Are carousels better? So, as I said, video is rewarded on the platforms. All the algorithms are fans of video and will likely share your video content for longer periods of time. It'll keep it coming back onto the feed more than just your text based or your image based. With carousels, Dave, are you meaning like the PDFs where you can scroll through the images so they appear like they do on Instagram? Carousels are quite popular on LinkedIn as well. Again, LinkedIn rewards you for doing various different things. But when it comes to putting your content out there, remember, think about what your target market likes to consume. Think about what they want to put out. And it's not necessarily just about what we want to put out and the different tips and tricks that we can do, but actually, what do people like to consume? People like to consume videos because you can get a lot of information in the same amount of time as they would read a prose text. So if you think about when you've read a blog post, it might take you, I mean, a lot of blog posts now will tell you how many the average time it takes to read that blog post. And some of them can be 4 or 5 minutes, or you can summarize it in a 30-second video. Now, a lot of you have said, and those of you who shared your target market, said the fact that you're targeting people who are busy, who have active lifestyles, that they've got juggling family, they're juggling friends, they're juggling running a business. They're busy people. They don't have the time. Are they likely to sit and read a post that's going to take them a couple of minutes, or are they likely to just watch a quick 30-second video? If they don't have a lot of time, think about it that way.
Yeah. Is it worth also putting the script as a post, part of the post, so it can be searched?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking, a lot of social media platforms now are looking more at your keywords, and there's various apps out there that can give you your script. I know Lucy is a big fan of Opus Clip, which is an AI video editing software that will give you those snippets, those captions, things like that. Choppity is another one that can do it. You can do it in ChatGPT. you know, so you can use things like AI to help speed up that process. But yes, definitely put in not necessarily the entire script as your caption, but put in a hook line again to get people to stay on those videos, because if somebody stays for longer than 3 seconds, the algorithm will catch that and it will promote that video, because you've obviously got a video that people want to stay on. If they stay longer than 20 seconds, again, it will promote your video.
Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, and Hannah's just said that, yeah, your first 3 seconds are key. So make sure the fact that you deliver that hook, you deliver that line, however you want to do it. I mean, I've seen various people do different things with great success. There's somebody who I follow on Instagram who is very, very simply is just a, hey, how are you? And that hand coming at the screen, instantly I've stopped and I'm like, oh, she's captured my attention. Very, very simple. That's how she starts all of her videos. Carries on. There's somebody else who starts with a clap of, very simple. It's woke me up. I watched the video. So those first 3 seconds are very key if you can get people to stay for longer than 3 seconds. With regards to video, it's very simple to get started on them. Yeah, so it's very, very simple to get started on video. So most people nowadays will have a smartphone with a camera functionality. We don't need to go out there and buy the equipment that we did, you know, back in the 90s when we wanted to do a video and we had to go and hire a video camera from a local store and fill out a load of paperwork. You know, we have it on our phones. We have that instant, you know, load up the camera, swipe across to video. In terms of what to talk about, so has Lucy and Mark mentioned before about an 80-20 split when it comes to messaging. So we want 80% of our content wants to be educational or entertainment. So we want to be adding value. We want to be telling people about ourselves. And only 20% of our posts, we want them to be about sales. Because people don't want to be sold to. And the long and short of it is, as much as we are doing these marketing strategies, these marketing techniques, because we want the sales, people don't want to be sold to. Just recently, I was sharing with one of my membership core group a fact that surprised most of them, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. Television adverts. Now, adverts are designed purely for sales. Television companies will actually increase the volume on an advert because they expect you, when the adverts are on television, to lose your interest. They expect you to pick up your phone, to go and make a brew, to go and put the kettle on, to go and feed the cat, or whatever it is that you're going to do. They expect you to do that in that advert break. So naturally, they increase the volume because they have lost your attention. Because people don't want to be sold to, right? We walk away from the adverts because it's like, oh, these are boring. They're not what I'm tuned into the television to see. Same basic principle on social media. People don't want to be sold to. We like seeing the entertainment. We like seeing the dog. We like seeing, you know, the office dog. That's always a good winner. So yes, 80% of your content should be that educational, that informational piece, with only 20% being the sales pitch. The give versus get mentality, you'll see this an awful lot, is, you know, people sharing top tips on social media. We are giving away these free snippets of information and these free bits of advice, tips, tricks, how-to guides, you know, that you can search things like YouTube and you'll just type in how-to and see the swarms that come at you. This is all really, really good marketing strategy, because if you are giving away this information for free, what are you keeping behind paid doors? What are you keeping behind those closed gates? So those are brilliant things to talk about. One thing that I recommend to an awful lot of people is having a notepad or a piece of paper that is separate on your desk. Because every time you speak to a client, a customer, a potential client, potential customer out at a networking event, you will be asked questions. You will be asked questions about, how are you? How have you been since we last met? What have you been up to? What's new with you? How's your business going? These are all questions that if people are asking you them, you can turn these into content. You can turn these into content for your social media, for your marketing campaigns. FAQs are brilliant. Stories, testimonials, case studies. How has it worked for somebody else? How did you take them from point A to point B? What was the process? People love to know a story. They love to know a success story. But they also love to see a vulnerability. We have very much as a society switched off from Instagram-worthy lifestyles. We don't like to see that. We don't like to see all the prim, polished stuff all the time. We want to see the nitty-gritty. Does anybody know what the definition of their civilization is, or when we first realized that we were civilized as human beings? So I like blank stares that I'm getting for this one. So the first definition of civilization, the first time we realized that human beings were civilized, was when archaeologists discovered the fact that a human had their leg was broken and the bone had been healed. Because as a species, as an animal, if a leg was broken, we couldn't hunt, we couldn't evade predators, we couldn't build shelters, we couldn't provide. So, you know, if your leg broke and you could no longer move, the chances are you wouldn't have anybody to look after you, help you, nurture you so that actually you could heal. So the very first definition of a civilization is from that recovery of a broken leg. And that's what we like to do as a civilization. We like to look after people. We like to nurture them. We like to help them when they're struggling. So you will see people who will put out their videos or posts saying, can you help me? Do you know somebody who can connect me to X? Do you know anybody who is in such and such an industry? Because naturally our human instinct, our civilized human instinct, is to help them, is to support them, is to look after them, because there is something, you know, I don't want to say broken with them, but to link it back to that broken leg, yeah, that's what we want to do. So sharing that vulnerability on social media is an incredibly powerful thing, because we invoke that natural human civilization of we want to help, we want to fix. So don't be afraid of sharing that you need help on social media. It is incredibly powerful. Yes, it does sound a bit like a pub quiz question, Ellen. But it just works for when people say, oh, I can't put that on social media because what will people think if I'm not perfect, if I'm not doing things right? It just helps us get over that mental block to actually understand that who we are as human beings is our natural tendency is to help somebody. Videos, the script, you know, if you're a business owner that really struggles with coming up with content ideas on social media and you find yourself at the end of the week and you haven't been able to post, brilliant. Really easy. I've targeted my market. I know who I want to speak to. If you are X and you need Y, I'm your person to speak to. Very, very simple video format for you to put out there. And you'll do this every time you go to a networking event. Your 60-second pitch. You know, you've worked on those for your networking as part of the Thrive Tribe, your skills bootcamp. Put those out as a video. You've got them. You've worked on them. You've written them. Put them out wider. Facts and info. Did you know that 3 billion people in the world don't post on social media every day? I'm not claiming that one is actually true, but probably a very high number. But facts, info, we've gone, oh, they know their stuff straight away. I love it because these are stories. This is what works really well on social media marketing. I love X because Y. Yeah, you'll see influencer marketers will unboxing videos or product evaluations, things like that. And we love to watch it. We love to watch somebody use something else so that they can use it before we do. And hearing them say, oh, I love it because it does this and it does that and it solves this pain point, it solves this problem that I had. That's what we want to hear. So when you're asking people for their testimonials, you know, give them that little prompt of why do you love it? What did it solve for you? What problems did it overcome for you? In terms of equipment, as I said, most of us have got a smartphone. If you wanted to get things like a ring light, you can get those very cheaply on Amazon. And that allows, particularly for people like myself, you'll have seen on this video, I like to wave my hands around when I talk. I have to be very, very careful when I'm doing it on a Zoom that I don't knock the laptop and you all start wobbling around. But having a ring light makes me nice and lit up. People can see me. Or a tripod, if you're in a well-lit area, things like that, you can get them very cheaply, very easily off Amazon. And they're very good quality as well. If you are going to be doing videos, if you're going to be doing videos outside as well, you can get things like lapel pin mics that will have a windsock on the top, so that not a windsock, sorry. Oh, the word's just gone straight out of my head. But it stops the background noise. Lapel pin mics are brilliant, and they just make that video look a little bit more professional. You might have seen people, if they've got their headphones in, they suddenly start, they'll record a video and they'll hold the headphone mic up to their mouth so that we get a nice clear quality sound on the video. We don't mind this. We don't mind the fact that when we're watching people that they've done this, because it means we can hear them. It gives that really good quality, and like I say, most of us have got headphones, but the lapel pin mics, if you don't have headphones with a mic that you can bring close to your mouth, they're really, really easy to get, and they just bring an extra quality to make sure that sound quality is there for your videos. Where to post? So this has sort of been covered a couple of times this evening, that people, where's the best place to post? Should they be trying different platforms? I would always say, we don't want to be everywhere. We don't want a scattergun approach. For a lot of people, posting everywhere takes an awful lot of time out of your business. So we want to be targeted with our marketing, with our social media. As I've already said, posting something on YouTube and then chopping it up into smaller bite-sized chunks for your Reels, your TikToks, your LinkedIn posts can be really, really a nice quick win for how to do it. There's the benefits of Facebook and Instagram, the cross-posting benefits. Again, as I said to Nikki earlier, I wouldn't recommend just a copy and paste over. But again, if we are looking for nice and ease of getting content out to a wider audience, we can use things like that. Embedding videos in your website as well. We can embed things like your YouTube videos into your website. It does help with your search engine optimization to put videos into your website. WhatsApp voice notes are again, it's that power of the voice. It's the power of the emotion that we can get from our voice. So I often use the phrase, for those of you who don't know, I actually have a theatre and English background. That's what I did for my degree. And one of my favourite phrases for showcasing the power of the voice, and I'm sure many of you have heard it before, is the phrase, "I didn't say we should kill him." Because you can put a stress on each of those words. So if I were to type that on the screen, each of you would read it slightly differently. And you'll see various voice actors who will use this phrase, because you can change it with changing the stresses in your voice. So I didn't say we should kill him. I didn't say we should kill him. I didn't say we should kill him. Yeah, so by putting that little bit of a stress on the different words, and that's why video and voice is so powerful at the moment. That's why podcasts are growing. People want to do podcasts because we can do so much things with our voice, and the power of it. So WhatsApp voice notes for the clips, for talking to your customers, for talking to clients, for getting those on board in, we can send voice notes through Facebook, through Instagram, through LinkedIn. We are getting better at our audio quality in the different things, and it adds a personal touch. It makes it realize the fact that we are not an AI robot. We actually are a person on the end of those messages, so it's incredibly personal. So let's have a think about what social media platforms are going to be best for your business? So if I can give you another 3 minutes just to have a think about which platforms are going to be best for you. So I'm going to very quickly go into understanding your customer motivations. I didn't really get through all of the slides tonight because I do want to make sure the fact that we've got time for your takeaways. So as you know, as Hannah and I just sort of discussed, there are reasons why people use different platforms. Some people use it because it's connecting with friends and families. Some people will join a platform just to follow a brand that they like. So one of my clients actually set up a Facebook account because he knew the fact that I was more active for the content that he wanted on my Facebook account than what he'd seen on my LinkedIn. So he genuinely created an entire Facebook account just to follow me and my business on it, which was quite a powerful thing. Some people are on it for special offers, new products. As I said, the influencer market for reviewing products and things on there, that is a massive part of a lot of video content at the moment. And people will gravitate to certain platforms to go and review, to see the reviews out there. Whether they're on there for inspiration or motivation or doom scrolling, that escapism part of it. Some people will be on different platforms for different things. So it's important. This is why we look at your target audience, to keep in mind what they want to consume. It's not necessarily what you want to put out there and what you're comfortable with or what you're familiar with. It's always looking at it from the other end of the telescope, not you looking out, it's them looking in. What do they want to see from you? So we want to align our marketing efforts. We want to make sure the fact that we're personalized, that we're showing those stories, those getting to know us. We say networking, people buy from people. So we do need to be personal, whether you're posting for yourself as a sole trader or whether you're posting on behalf of a business. The meet the team kind of posts always get high views, high engagement, because people want to see who's running the business, who's behind the door. I think back to the Wizard of Oz of who's behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, but no, we want to see who's behind that curtain. Engagement, people want to know the fact that you're there and you're willing to have a conversation with them, that back and forth, the commenting, asking them their opinion, asking their views, asking them to promote your business, share a post, things like that. There's a really, really big drivers on marketing. That visual storytelling, I will talk for endless hours about the power of stories when it comes to marketing, because we don't realize that we're being sold to with a story. We don't realize that that case study is making us better understand who that business helps. And if you can do it visually, if you can put a photo or, if you get permission or a video from, a client, customer, telling that story from their perspective, not just you putting that case study on, it really, really adds to that authenticity, which is what a lot of people look for. You'll hear a lot of buzz phrases about just be you, always be yourself, don't put on a business persona, be your authentic self. All of these phrases you will most likely have heard when it comes to social media marketing. And that's what it means, is we want to see that raw data. We want to see the person, behind that. Get to really know you. For myself, a lot of people and some people on this call will know some of my hobbies because I talk about them in my social media marketing. So I do archery, and I often link it to target markets because I'm focusing on a target, and but it has driven conversations of people who've gone, actually, I'd like to talk to you about archery, and while we're on that call, can we just have a quick chat about my Instagram account? Can you help me with that? So that it does drive people to feel that connection with you. The adding value. So I will say this time and time again, you are an expert in your industry, your business inside and out. Giving those top tips, sharing your knowledge is not going to turn people away. it's going to actually make them come back to you, because when you've shown them how to, I don't know, bake a cake in a 30-second video and made it look so simple, what they're not seeing is, the fact that it took you months to learn how to bake that cake or perfect that icing or whatever it is. And when they want to buy a cake, they're going to come to you. They're going to come to you because you made it look so simple. Your years of experience and expertise made it look so simple. So never underestimate the value of sharing what you do and how you do it and why you do it on your social media marketing, because it's selling without selling. You're not just saying buy my stuff. You're saying this is my reason why. This is my mission in life. These are my values. People will align to them and they'll come back to you.